Hey everyone, today we're going to be revisiting the Aer Carry On. When this was originally released, it came out in a larger size. That was the one that I featured on the channel previously, but after a lot of customer feedback, they quickly released a smaller version, which is the one that I have here. The original is now known as the Carry On Max. It's still available, but I was very excited for this smaller size as this is the size that I normally feel comfortable taking with me on a majority of airlines domestically and internationally. And I was a big fan of the style and the features that the original featured, so it's great to just have it in this smaller size as it also places it in a range that is comparable to some of the other popular bags that came out around the same time from companies like Peak Design and Bellroy. And so in this video, I'm going to be revisiting some of the functionality and features of the Carry On. I'll talk a little bit about the size differences with the Carry On Max, and I'll also talk about how I think this compares with the Bellroy Transit Carry On and the Peak Design Roller Pro. So excited to dive in. Before doing so, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Danny, and on this channel, we love reviewing popular travel and everyday carry gear. If you like these types of videos and you'd be interested in seeing more, please consider subscribing as it helps the channel out a lot. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. Starting off with a quick run through of the Carry On, the design and the features are going to feel very similar to the Carry On Max that I previously reviewed on the channel. So this has Aer's modern minimal style that's going to feel in line with some of the other popular hardshell rollers that have come out recently. This is an aesthetic that I like. I think it works well for a lot of different types of travel. It's offered in a few different colors. I have the olive colorway here, which I think looks great. I also have the Carry On Max in the black colorway. As far as the materials, this feels very solidly built. The exterior is a polycarbonate shell, which I've used across a number of different roller bags now, and it's always held up well, and that's definitely been the case with this one here and the larger version, which I've had for a little bit longer. As with most hardshell rollers, you will start to see some scuffs and wear. You can clean a lot of it off, but I've just kind of grown used to beating up some of these suitcases while traveling. I like the distinct character that they start to develop, and so I don't worry too much about it because I know it comes with the territory. Still definitely feels like everything on the inside is well protected and like this is going to be with me for a long time to come. And as with other hardshell rollers in this category, it's going to be a little bit heavier. The weight on this version comes in at around 8 pounds. And so that's something that will eat into your allowance if you're traveling on, stricter international airlines. But this is the type of suitcase that I normally travel with, so I already kind of account for that. And then beyond that, you have, some really nice Hinomoto wheels that work super smoothly. I've had great experiences with the Carry On Max, and so it's continued to be the case here. These are able to roll in any direction. I'm always a big fan of the four-wheel rollers in particularly, as I can push it ahead of me, I can pull it, and I haven't had any issues with them. And one thing that I always look for with the wheels on these roller bags is the height. I like that these don't stick out too far from the bottom of the bag or add to the height unnecessarily, and so they allow me to use the suitcase in the way that I want while maintaining the dimensions as best they can. And one of the things that I first fell in love with when I first tried this suitcase out is the wheel lock. This isn't on as many suitcases as I would have expected, and it comes in super handy. I've now been in so many situations with other rollers where because the wheels are so smooth, if there's any slight incline, it'll start to roll away from me if I'm not careful. And so it's so nice to be able to engage this and know that my bag is going to stay still. I was recently on a cruise ship, and also while boarding airlines, there's always, lots of different ramps. And so this is super handy. It works very well, very smooth. And so, it's one of my favorite features on this luggage. And while we're here at the top, you can also take a look at the telescoping handle. So, they do a good job here. Pretty standard as far as offering a couple of different levels, locks into place. It works very smoothly. And then you have some really nice handles, one at the top and one at the side. And I like that Aer included these attachment points on the handles that you can use to hold a luggage tag like the one that I have attached here. They also include one with the Carry On, but this is the one that I really like to use just for the style and the size, and so I attached that here at the top. But you have a couple of different points where maybe you could pair it with a carabiner, and then you have a very smooth working and reliable YKK zipper that goes all the way around. And I like that there's an integrated TSA friendly lock. And so I'm always a fan of this because I don't have to worry about using an extra lock on my luggage. It's just incorporated. I like that it's on the side as well. And then it's a combination lock. You can personalize it to whatever combination you want. Secure, and then opens up very easily. And as far as the capacity on this one, it comes in at around 41 liters, which is, you know, kind of the standard size that I like to travel with these styles of rollers. And so we'll get into the main compartment now. Opening it up, you have the standard kind of dual compartment layout that a lot of these hard shell rollers have. So I'll kind of go through the items that I have here now, and then I will show the difference in capacity with the Carry On Max before I talk about some of the similarities and differences with the other roller bags that I mentioned in the intro. And so you have the two segments. On one side, you have a zippered divider, which is gonna help keep everything in place and separated. And so opening this up, this is where I have kind of my main packing cube setup with the smaller compressible Peak Design packing cube. And I also have the larger one. Both of those slide in there without any issue. And then nothing else here, no additional compression straps or anything like that. That's what I prefer, is a simple layout that I can, you know, fully take advantage of. And so that works very nicely. You have the really nice liner as well. This feels super high quality. And then you have a zippered compartment. That's gonna be a good spot for smaller accessories. Put some toiletries in there, some tech items, and you also have a little pocket for an air tag to kind of keep that hidden. And you have a mesh pocket here that you can use to store a laundry bag or other smaller items. I normally don't use these that much. I have the little gel packs here to help with the humidity, but you know, you can use this for any sort of stuff here. And then on the other side, you have compression strap with this divider here that you can use to kind of keep everything tightly in place. This also has a compartment with the mesh on the inside and quick release buckle. I like how smoothly this works. You can attach it, slide it off, and then you do have the ability to adjust it so that you can get to what you need. In this section, I just put in a few more kind of packing cubes and organizational accessories. So I have my extra pair of shoes here in a packing cube. I have a Peak Design pouch, an Aer toiletry bag, packable tote bag, and then I also have a medium-sized compressible packing cube from Arkedo. All of those things fit in there without any issue, and it didn't feel like it was super tight, so I could have probably put another item or two and I wouldn't have had any issues. Now with this section empty, you can see that you know you have the telescoping handle kind of coming into the main area, as is the case with many of these style rollers, but you know, pretty simple layout here for you to organize your stuff as you need to. You can open this up as well. And yeah, I like that there's not a ton of additional bells and whistles. Aer really prioritized kind of the core features that you would probably want to see on one of these rollers, and then did a great job with it as far as the space and, you know, the wheels, the handle, and the brake. And so I was already a big fan of the larger size, and in this smaller version, this has now kind of become the default roller bag that I have been using recently. And so taking a look at the Carry On Max, which again has the same design and features, it's just gonna be a little bit larger. This one comes in, I believe, at around 48 liters. And so it's gonna be taller and deeper. And it is nice to have that extra space if you're traveling on more lenient airlines. So domestically, I've been able to use this as a carry-on, and this was the one that I've actually taken on cruises, as they're definitely more lenient with their allowance. And so, you know, that extra space can definitely come in handy. And so I'll toss in the same items that I had in the other size, so you can get a sense of how much that extra space gets you. And so in this segment, it feels pretty similar. You can definitely feel that you have some extra space at the top. So that's where the height difference really comes in. And so, you know, you can use either maybe a slightly larger packing cube or squeeze some extra things in there. So a little bit of extra capacity. And then moving over to the other side, same layout with the divider. And I'll bring all the same packing cubes and pouches back. So first off, I had this Arkedo packing cube, and then I had the toiletry bag. I had the Peak Design packable pouch, another pouch here, and then the extra pair of shoes. And so, of course, all those items fit, and it does feel like there's a little bit more space on the depth, on the height, and so all the items fit in here, and it just feels like I have a little bit of extra space. It doesn't feel quite as snug as the other one did, but you know, both sizes are going to be very capable. I of course prefer the smaller size because it's going to be the option that I can take with me on more flights domestically and internationally. But if you need a little bit of extra space and you just don't go on those airlines very often, or you even just want to check your bag, then this is still going to offer that same quality and features with that extra bit of space. Continuing with the Roller Pro from Peak Design, this is one of the more unique options of the newer luggages that have come out. And so this has Peak Design's typical sleek modern style. The exterior is interesting because it takes kind of a hybrid approach, and so in some ways it feels like a hard shell roller, but it also has the front that feels a little bit more like a soft-sided suitcase, and so I think that works well. It's pretty interesting alternative to all the fully hard shell rollers that give you some extra flexibility. And as far as the sizing, this one comes in at around 34 liters, but it has the ability to expand out to 39 liters. It is still pretty heavy, coming in at almost 9 pounds. I believe it's 8.6 pounds with the features that it offers. And so it does feel like you get a lot for that as far as the features. The materials here feel very solid, very well protected zippers. Peak Design has their own proprietary wheels, but they've worked very smoothly, reliably. And then they also have this unique implementation for the telescoping handle. It's going to be a little bit thinner than the other ones to give you that space savings in the main compartment. And so I won't go through all the features on this. I did an in-depth review that you can check out if you want to get more in-depth with it. I'll just call out some of the differences. First off, one of the big ones is that you have a dedicated tech area. And so this is going to offer a laptop compartment that you can get to, and then a little bit of organization here. And so, I think that's nice to have. I prefer not to use the space of my suitcase for that type of thing, but for the people that want to have a tech area, I think that this is one of the better ones that is available. It's actually something that felt pretty seamless to use. And then the other unique aspect of this one compared to many of the other options is the opening here is more of a clamshell style opening versus opening like a book, like the Aer Carry On roller. And so you can kind of load everything in from the top, which I think was an interesting alternative. This reminds me of a travel backpack. I've also used other roller bags in the past that just open up and you have a primary compartment. And so I'm pretty comfortable with this layout, and it was able to hold what I would expect. So same Peak Design cubes that I had earlier. I have the Aikido cube here, and then my toiletry bag, an extra pair of shoes, and then the Peak Design pouch and the packable tote bag. All of those items fit comfortably, and this still isn't even expanded. And so in some ways it feels like that 34 liters is a pretty generous 34 liters. It closes without any issues here. And then I could have expanded it if I wanted that extra capacity. You also have some additional organization on the other side. You have this zippered section that you can use to separate out a few items. And you have a hidden compartment here at the top. You have some additional zippered pockets here for smaller accessories that you're going to be carrying. And so, it's still a very effective layout. This is also meant to pair with Peak Design's camera cube that was designed specifically for the roller bag. If you're somebody who's traveling with a lot of camera gear, you want to save some weight, or you want the protection offered by something like a roller bag, you also have this unique compression system here that you can use to kind of secure everything down. It's very adaptable. And so, very unique, and offers the level of modularity and configurability that you would expect from Peak Design's bags. And so if you're looking for something with a little bit of a different layout and some unique features that's still going to provide everything that you would expect from a modern, reliable, and versatile carry-on roller, I think this is going to be a really cool option to take a look at. As far as how it compares to the carry-on from Aer, this is going to be quite a bit more expensive. I believe it comes in at around $600. The carry-on, I believe, is around $300, so twice the price. And I do think that there is a lot of cool functionality here. For me, with the way that I pack and that I like to travel, it doesn't feel like this offers twice the value compared to the Aer Carry On. And so that's the one that I would still lean towards, because it does provide the layout that I'm comfortable with and that wheel locking mechanism, while being very durable and less expensive. And so that's the one that I would lean towards. But I know that some of the functionality offered here is a little more specialized and niche. And so if you're looking for some of those things or the ability to expand, then that may be some of the things that you'll want to consider between the two. And then the last option that I want to compare in this video is the Bellroy Transit Carry-On, which to me feels like it does a lot of the same things well that the Aer Carry On does. And so it has, a very minimal style, super durable exterior. It's offered in a few different colors. And one of the areas where this one really stands out is in the weight. It still comes in at around 6 pounds, I believe, but it is a good bit lighter than the Aer Carry On and some of the other similar bags in this category. And so that's a big benefit if you're traveling on those stricter airlines where the weight is really going to be important to keep an eye on. So that's one of the big pluses for this one here. Beyond that, you have very solid components all around the exterior, smooth working wheels as we've seen with the other options that I've mentioned, really nice handles on the side, at the top. I really like the material here and the style. You have a great telescoping handle. This one's interesting because it has the button on the bottom, and I think that that works fine. I haven't noticed any big preference difference between having it at the bottom or at the top. I think that they both work well, and the handle is smooth, it's sturdy. And then another interesting aspect of Bellroy's carry-on line is that they really emphasize making it easy to replace the primary components of the luggage if it were to get damaged. And so you can easily replace the wheels, the handles, the telescoping handle at the top. This isn't something that I've had to deal with yet. This does feel very solidly built, which is great, but good to know that I can potentially just kind of handle that some of myself if I need to. And then this one also has the integrated lock on the side, so very similar style to what we saw on the Aer Carry On. Where you start to see some of the other differences is the layout for the main compartment. And so this has a similar style in the fact that you have kind of the split opening in the two segments, but Bellroy actually includes these packing cubes in the compartment that can attach. You can fully remove them, you can attach them together, so this almost works as the compression system for this compartment. And this is a pretty interesting idea. I thought this was very unique when it first came out. Very cool, especially if you're somebody who's, not really locked into a particular packing style yet. This does provide a great amount of organization that's built in. It's integrated with the bag. And so I thought it was a nice idea. And then on the other side, you still have kind of your standard zippered pocket area. And so I'll start with this side first because it is very much the same as what we saw with the Aer Carry On. The last thing I'll call out here is that Bellroy does also have a spot to hide an air tag in the label, which I've always thought is a cool idea. And so you put your Peak Design packing cube in here. The other one fits as well. This one, I believe, comes in at 41 liters, so it's the same size approximately as the Aer Carry On. So, it's a good comparison here, and you can see that the packing cubes fit pretty much the same. And you have the dual zipper pulls here, which I think is a nice touch, so you can open them from either direction. You have a zippered pocket here, which I typically don't use. And then on the other side, you have these packing cubes that I was talking about. And you can see on the back, you still have the telescoping handle. I'll go ahead and try to toss in the same loadout here. So our Keto packing cube, Air toiletry bag there, the Peak Design cube. You put the shoes at the top and the other Peak Design pouch. All of those things fit in there. They're pretty much the same, I would say, as they fit in the Aer Carry On. And then where it starts to differ is in this system here. And so instead of the divider that the Aer Carry On has, you have these cubes that you can connect here. And then they kind of help keep everything in place. And you have, the cube itself, which you can use to add some additional stuff. I actually like this to maybe separate out some of the dirty clothes from the other items in the compartment. One thing that I did notice is that you can't completely fill these up and then still use the space that's underneath. So you have to, be a little bit more thoughtful about where you want to store items. If you're not going to use these and you just want to kind of like keep them here to secure items down, I think that they work well. It's a little trickier if you wanted to fill this packing cube up and then this cube up. It starts to get a little bit tighter, and in that regard it starts to feel like maybe this takes up some extra space compared to something like the simple compression straps that some other luggages have. But again, it's an interesting idea, and it's cool that you can fully remove them. So if you just don't want to use them at all, it's a very simple modular system, and then you can access the things at the bottom without any issue. And so again, 41 liters about, very similar to the Aer Carry On. And so this is a really solid option overall. I like the style, the price point is comparable to Air's, and I really like the fact that this is a little bit lighter. It's a very compelling option. I still lean a little bit more towards the Aer Carry On because of the internal layout. I often just don't use these packing cubes that much because I'm so used to traveling with the setup that I've always had. When I'm going on a trip, I just don't always want to think about how I'm going to organize everything, and I prefer the simpler layout. And I also really like that Aer has the wheel lock on their luggage. Seems like such a small thing, but it really makes a big difference in the usage of the roller bag while I'm actually traveling. And so that is just enough to make me lean towards it. But you know, this is a very compelling option. And if you're looking for something that's going to be a little bit lighter and still offer many of the benefits of the hard shell rollers, as well as, you know, give you the added benefit of the included packing cubes, I think this is going to be a compelling option. But, you know, for me, I still lean a little bit more towards the Aer Carry On. And so that's it. That's my experience revisiting the Aer Carry On over the past couple of weeks. Hopefully this video was helpful, and if you have any questions on anything that I covered in the video or suggestions for similar items that I should check out, as always, please let me know in the comments. And I'll make sure to include links in the description below to the dedicated reviews that I've done for the Aer Carry On Max and the Peak Design Roller Pro and Bellroy Transit Carry On. I'll also include links to some of the other roller bags that I've tested that I didn't mention in this video from companies like Carl Frederick and Level 8, as well as to some of the roundup videos that I've done where I've shared my favorite one bag travel options. I also recently published a video on traveling with a backpack versus traveling with a suitcase, which might be helpful if you're kind of on the fence. And if you have ideas for other videos that you'd like to see, please let me know about those as well. And I want to thank Aer for sending the carry-on for me to test out, and to you guys for watching and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos, and we'll see you in the next one.